In this video, we'll be talking about natal moon in Libra in the 5th house and what this placement means for you or somebody else when it is in the chart. And with that being said, what the moon represents in astrology is it represents emotions and emotional needs, as well as an internal part of our personality, one that is not outwardly expressed, but that is true nonetheless, and that people only get to know when they get to know us on a personal and private level. And it is the moon is a more mysterious and secretive planet. So a lot of times this is something that is hidden and that is only internally felt and internally influences our actions. But people don't necessarily pick up on it. And it all has to do with our emotions and forms of how we feel emotionally compatible to others as well, because this is an important part of the chart when it comes to synastry and when it comes to long-lasting relationships where people feel fulfilled, like their cup is being filled, emotionally speaking, and not left out in the cold, which would be the opposite, which is when the moon is not well aspected in synastry. So anyways, when you have this placement on an emotional level, the need that you have is you have this need to be validated within relationships to others. And that's because the 5th house has to do with our value to others. And it's also about providing value to other people. And it's all about ego as well, entertainment and value. And it's also the house of romance. But generally speaking, these people that have the placement of the moon in the 5th house in Libra, they have this need to maintain a certain ego within the relationship and to other people, and even to their way of relating to friends and stuff like that, where they need to have interpersonal value and they need to be valued and validated for what it is that they bring to the table. And they always have this desire to maintain a certain level of energy to be able to provide and be of service or of value to other people. Because the moon shows emotional needs, and when it's in our 5th house, this is having to do with our energy and our character. So a lot of times we have this need to perform well in life when we have the moon in the 5th house. So in this case, since it's in Libra, this is for the sake of other people and for the sake of relationships. These people always try to maintain a certain character or ego. And they like to bring value to others, often through the form of conversation and through the form of opportunities and interesting gossip or news. And that's because the natural sign that has the 5th house in Libra is Gemini. So when you have the moon in the 5th house in Libra, this is a Gemini style placement. Gemini is having to do with communication, interaction, and opportunities. So generally speaking, too, another aspect of this trait is that these people have an emotional need for interaction in relationships, like constant interaction, and they need for evidence of them having value. They need to be validated, for their character to be validated, and for their personality to be appreciated, or what it is that they bring to the table to be appreciated. And generally speaking, they are very generous people. They like to give and to care for others, and that's part of their ego, or what they want to give, what their value that they perceive that they have in the world is what they give to others and how they provide for others in relationships. And also being able to participate personally in somebody else's life is very validating for them. Now, Gemini is a more fickle placement, so these people that have the moon in the 5th house in Libra have a tendency to initiate a lot of relationships, and they have this need to maintain the relationships through value, or through being relatable, or through the form of conversation, or for the other person to be able to depend on them and depend on their energy. So anyways, that basically sums up what I wanted to talk about for this placement. So if this resonated and you saw yourself in any way throughout this video, or you learned something new and you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. For natal chart readings, the link is in the description to my Patreon, where I provide natal chart readings. And also there is my email in the description for other more specific inquiries. So if that interests you, and you'd like a natal chart reading, then definitely check those out. But other than that, I appreciate you guys watching and supporting in any way that you do. And I will talk to you guys sometime soon in another video. Peace. So also, this placement shows somebody that has a tendency to take things personally in relationships. And that's because the 5th house is about ego. And when the moon is in the 5th house, this shows somebody that becomes personally and emotionally attached to the ego that they develop within a relationship or a way of relating to someone else. So if they do not feel appreciated, they will start to build up emotional resentment. Or if they just feel disrespected or in some way for whatever reason, they will kind of take things more personally, and they just have like a very defensive ego too, because the moon shows things that we defend and secure, so they always defend their sense of worth. And in this case, it has to do with relationships. So if a relationship changes from the way that they experienced it when it began, then they may start to feel insecure or take things personally and kind of feel like it's their fault. But generally, that's why this placement will also show somebody that likes to have fun in relationships and for things to stay fresh, to stay new, to stay exciting in their way of relating to other people. And so the relationships can be a little bit more detached in that sense. And they just have this need for relationships to validate them and to validate their worth, or for people to appreciate what it is that they bring to the table. So that is all for this placement.